Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Care Sessions. I am indeed your host, Chris Simmons. I am the founder and chief skin illuminator of Lamb and Honey, right? So, this platform we created is a safe space for, us to come together so that we can learn how to advocate for each other and for ourselves, right? So we can take those moments to like slow down and recharge, to form a connection or a reconnection with God for every season of our life, right? Especially those times in our lives that cause us to feel like overwhelmed, beat up, sliding down the wall. Just, I like to refer to it as a meltdown, right? But we're having this soul care session this evening because um, I want y'all to talk to and meet Ashley King. I met her a few weeks back and I just fell in love with her. She just became a new boo. So I want, so everybody meet Ashley King. Ashley King, tell the people about yourself.
Well, hey everybody. My name is Ashley M. King. I guess if you do the whole business thing, I'm a book publisher, aka the Get It Done Queen, and I help people of faith tell their story through writing a book and leverage their message to create brands, but and just not books. But outside of that, honey, I am a mommy of a 1 year old that's driving me crazy. First time mom, so I'm learning all the ropes as I go. Love of Christ, definitely faith-based. Appreciate and need God in my life in every aspect.
Talk about
A wife. And I guess an entrepreneur. Like I love business. I love just learning new things. And I guess that's kind of it. Oh, I'm an outdoorsy type person, so I am working on getting my farmer certificate. So I love being out in the dirt, I guess playing in the dirt again like a big kid. So I guess that's a little about who I am, business side and personal. So yeah.
you might have to talk to me about this farming in the dirt thing. I might be inclined to join you.
Yes, I love it. So I mean, ultimately, if I could have my wish, I want like 250 acres, self-sustainable, whole solar thing, just like a compound. Like that is just like my vision to have it in family for generations to come. But in essence, until that comes to pass, you have to work on small things. So about 3 years ago, like I was just, I'm starting me a garden. The first year I had like watermelons in there. I can't remember, but pretty much the watermelons was like the only thing that kind of made it. um, the second year, I really didn't do too much because that's when I was pregnant. But what I don't even remember. Oh, tomatoes. Tomatoes. I had tomatoes galore. And then this past year, I think carrots were my thing. I had multiple things, but I only can remember. I think motherhood, you have like short term memory right now.
They say that. I never experienced that, but okay.
Yeah, it's really real. Like the brain. I mean, I'm gonna say my first year of having him, I don't want to say I was like postpartum depression because I didn't have like those type of thoughts or well, when you're postpartum they give you a questionnaire and I always on the high side as far as oh you're okay.
Got it.
But as
Amen.
far as just managing life, I literally had no desire for business, for anything. And anyone that knows me knows like I am a business person, entrepreneur, money person at heart. Like you give me an idea, I can give you like we gonna make it roll. That's just me. But I didn't have that drive. I lost that and I felt like I lost who I was. And the first year, I was just out of it. Like I just didn't care about I don't want to say about life, but it was just like I felt like I didn't know my purpose. But I do want to say things changed once we kind of got him on a sleep schedule. So I really think it was sleep deprivation that was getting to me. Yeah, so that's why I, perhaps can't remember things at time. But yeah, the farming is coming along. That's the first step. And so this year I'm learning more about like the soil pH and really like becoming a farmer, like really honing in on this. And I'm going to stick with four things like carrots, onions, watermelon, and I think tomatoes. Those are like my four that I'm gonna stick with, kind of learn. And I'm in the process. I need to scoop up about an inch of my ground in 15 different spots, they say, and send it over for my soil to be tested so I can learn about the pH and what I can and cannot grow and stuff like that. So
I love that. I love
yeah.
that. And this is so off topic, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Like I kind of like. I'm glad that you're doing the farming thing because things are shifting in the world. But then I'm so glad that it's a black girl farming, simply because of the fact that we have this as a people. We have a love-hate relationship with the farming, being in the earth because of what we've been
Mm-hmm.
as a people.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna deep. I'm not gonna dig deep, but
I
I'm just
understand.
saying that's just so all snaps, hand claps, finger taps, toe taps,
Thank
all the things.
you.
That is so so dope. But as we are talking about today, so basically, I'm say this. I asked these two questions um, to everybody. This is how we kick off our conversations, right? So, our thing is that our premise behind Lemon Honey is that we are created in faith, inspired by legacy. And our tagline says, we illuminate the outer you while teaching you how to love and elevate the inner you. And that all stems from the fact that, the Bible reminds us that we are to love our neighbors as ourself, right? And that simply implies that we simply already love ourselves and we need to learn to love from our overflow, from our abundance, right? It's like a
Mm-hmm.
sipping with our saucer kind of deal, right? So it becomes the question rises to how can you intentionally love your neighbor if you are running on fumes and pouring from an empty cup? So my first question to you says, what does self-care mean to you and why is it important for you to do it?
Um, if I had to sum it up like one sentence, self care is just loving yourself. But as far as what that entails, looks different for everyone. And I believe you have like the physical self care, the spiritual self care, and just like the mental, all of it. And so, what that looks for me, physically, um, I would say honestly, stepping away from business and social media. I can't remember the year. I don't know if it was 2019 or 2020 where I actually went to go see a therapist. I guess it was maybe like, yeah, right around COVID started happening. And I thought maybe I had COVID because I seriously was having a hard time breathing. Like I couldn't catch my breath for 30 minutes. It would just be like debilitating. Like I would just sit on the couch and just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like I feel like I'm being choked. And so I spoke to, a therapist and she was like, you're just having anxiety attacks. Like what do you do for you? Like for me, if I'm not doing business, then I'm learning about something, I'm doing something for someone else, I'm really involved in my church. I'm always doing, but I don't have time to just pause and work on me, like actually spend a day that is for you, what you want to do. And so that I think that's kind of where I got into the gardening aspect.
Mm,
Because I felt like that was therapeutic for me and just getting away from it all. Um, that's what it is like physically per se. Spiritually, definitely reading my word and fasting. And I I actually met a pastor who said it was kind of hard for him to fast, which we're all human. Yeah, we're all human, but it is what it is. And it is very I'm gonna say when you add fasting with consecration, when you really like stop watching TV, get off social media, and it's just really you and God, and whether you do a total fast for the whole day, a certain hour, or Daniel's fast, whatever it is, that it stretches the flesh and is very uncomfortable at times, depending on how long or how comfortable you are with fasting. But when you really get to God and like you are in your word, it's just like a what they say, fire shot up in my bones. It's just like, God, I love you. It's just like an overwhelming joy and just making sure, I'm straight with God, spiritually. So that what is like spiritually self-care. And I'm gonna say I've noticed, I'm not perfect with this, but I noticed the days that I actually start the day off reading my word before I get in business. It is so much it's so much smoother. Like, the stuff that perhaps would bother me doesn't bother me. It's like, "Okay, God, it is what it is," or he goes ahead and fight my battles, and I don't have to deal with it.
Facts.
Um,
Listen.
so, yes, and I need to get better with that, but, I noticed that that is something, like, when I actually spend time in my word before I begin my business day or so. And then mentally, I think that's that checking out, and social media has done so much that, you post the highlights of your life, and it's very rare that you find people posting, them crying or anything like that. It's always the highlights of how much money I made, we're in a relationship, and you actually get into that comparison phase. And I had started a conference based off of that. I think my first year of marriage, we got married in 2017. Yeah, my husband's better with dates than me. So we got married in
I'm
2017.
telling. I am
And so I think my idea of marriage was based off of my grandmother on my dad's side. Like, they had been married for, I don't know, maybe like 40, 50 years before they both passed. And she was a stay-at-home wife. Like, she cooked, make sure everything in the house was clean. My grandfather did not eat leftovers, so it was a fresh meal every day.
I'm
My
glad I'm not the only one, girl, because my husband don't eat leftovers. What is happening in the world?
Yeah, my grandfather, he did not eat leftovers. We were old school, so when my grandfather came home and like the grandkids were there, we would take off his boots. He had a chair that he sit. No one else could sit in his chair. He
Mm-hmm.
loved BB King, and he had an electric guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And he would play. Like, he would turn it on, his speaker, play. Dinner's ready. He eat. Yeah, it was just, that's her domain. So I was like, okay, I know how to do marriage, like cater to him, make, whatever. I know how to do it. Got married.
I didn't know how to do it.
Uh, in my mind, I thought I knew how to do it.
I didn't know how to do it.
So I think about 3 months in, I had a breakdown. I had mental breakdown. The thing I failed to realize is my grandmother was a stay-at-home wife. I worked 40 plus hours. I had a business. It wasn't that, oh, I'm at home all day and just do whatever.
It's
And
different.
yes,
It's
so
different.
what it was kind of like putting a triangle in a circle and vice versa. Like, I was trying to match it up, but it wasn't, and that was hurting me. And then I also met this young lady before we got married, and I think she ended up getting engaged maybe 4 or 6 months after me. And kind of where she got married at, everything, it was kind of like, oh, I wish that was me. So in addition to not having my marriage lined up to what I thought it should be, I was
Mm-hmm.
comparing like the wedding. Oh, I wish things were like this. And it was just a hot mess. So I literally cried in my hallway, snot running down my nose, just tears, bloodshot. I didn't really care. I was just like, it was the ugly cry. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, God, what, like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I was like depressed for months. And he was like, you don't know the battle behind the crown. Like, you see all these other women and they may look polished and everything, but they have battles just like you. So he said, polish your crown, meaning work on yourself. Like, stop comparing and work on yourself. And so, therefore, I had started a conference called Polish Your Crown, because if I'm going through this, I'm pretty sure there are some other women who are going through this, whether it's their first year of marriage, whether they are comparing themselves in business, relationships, etc.
Yeah.
Comparison will kill your joy, and it sure enough killed mine. So that's kind of where I learned to check out on social media, so I can get that mental clarity. And it kind of goes all coincide, me doing something for myself, whether and out enjoying playing in the garden. If I'm getting mentally, out there and I see that I'm unhappy, check off from social media things that would have me lend me to compare myself with others, and then get to God. God, I know I ain't been checking in with you. I ain't praying like I need to do. I ain't been in my word. So I need to get this together. So for me, that's how all three of those coincide and make up self-care for me. And I do apologize. I forgot the second half of that question.
It's okay. You answered it anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, perfecto.
We bless the Lord. Yes, you did. Okay.
Praise him.
So listen, tell me something. So even with all of that, you read your word every morning because it does help. Like I
Mhm.
appreciate being able to like lend and read and all this stuff because it centers you, and you be like, you know what, today I can't be faded. Like nothing is going
Mhm.
to bother me. I cannot be faded by the foolishness. It is not going to pop off today. You can do that. I'm done. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. God bless you. So, I'm thankful for the grace, what I'm saying? Like that He lends each and every single day. So then that
Amen.
leads me to ask you, what is that text or texts that you lean to, that you glean to when you be like, you know what, I just can't. Let me just, some people count backwards from 10 to 1.
Mhm.
you know, we as believers will go to the word and be like, all right, well, you know what, this is the scripture that's hidden in my heart that's gonna remind me that I can be centered, that I know He got me. What's that one for you? I know you got
Okay.
one or two.
So I got a scripture, but then I'm gonna say it's something else that helps me. So the scripture that I have is I think Isaiah 45:22. And I don't know which version I'm quoting from, but look unto me and be ye saved, all ends of the earth, for I am God and there is none else. And so that's probably like NIV version or something like that. They ain't no these and thous in there, I don't believe. So for me, like
I'm sorry.
when things are going on, that's kind of like, all right, God, I am there's nothing else. Like, I don't care if she getting on my nerves, whatever it is, this cannot mess up my salvation. Like, look unto you, like, you gonna have to handle it. Like, if you say you gonna, if you are what keeps me saved, God, I need for you as my father to come in and handle this situation. And so sometimes you say handle it, but then it may be like, well, Ashley, you need to kill your flesh. Like it's already handled, but you just need to get out your attitude, out your flesh, your attitude, and calm yourself down.
Yeah.
So beside that scripture, I think what really helps me to kind of woo-saw and get on my day is I want to say spending time in my word, but not necessarily that. It's listening to God. Because when you pray and spend time, He speaks. And so I want to say about 6 weeks ago, roughly, whatever, I was like, you know what, God, it's been a minute. Sounds like search my heart, tell me about myself, what I need to work on. And He told me that you are hold on. He told me I need to be humble. That was the second one. But I think he said selfish. No, attitude. My attitude. Yes, my attitude.
Your attitude.
So
Your attitude was tell her.
so had you met me maybe about 7, 10 years ago, like probably wouldn't be here.
I ain't mad. Listen. We could talk. We could swap
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, my attitude was horrible, especially in college. And I guess, some
Were you a mean girl?
they called me nice nasty.
Oh.
I really didn't know what that was until God kind of showed me myself through someone else, and I was like, "Ooh, that's nice, nasty."
Mm.
Like, like I truly had a heart to help people, and I still do, but my patience is so thin that it would be like, you know what? I appreciate it, but I don't want your help because your attitude, like, I would just kill the vibe of everything. Like, if it wasn't my way, like, I don't mind helping you, but my father, even though he was in the military, my mom told me about 2 years ago, my father was always strict with his time. So if he said we're leaving at 7 o'clock, like you better be in the car at 6:58, 6:59. He's backing out the driveway. 7 o'clock, he's in drive. And so I have always been a stickler for time. So if I say I'm gonna help you and you're not in the car by 6, 7, I don't care. I'm not here. I'm not. You did not hold up to the end of our agreement. Like they'll be like,
Breaching of contract.
yeah. Oh, and okay. So you
Bless
laugh
the
or you say
Lord.
breach of contract. When I was in high school, because that's when I stayed with my father. My father, he would do whoopings, but he was a very businessman, and that's where I kind of got my business savvy from. My father would put me on contracts. And so if I wanted to do something like in high school, if I wanted to go to like a sleepover or a party over the weekend, Okay, cool. We're gonna sign this contract. So for this entire week, you need to make sure the kitchen's clean, your room clean, blah 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 blah. I got to be home by a certain time, after school. Okay. My father would, hold on to the contract. Let's just say Wednesday, I got tired with homework or whatever, and I didn't clean up the kitchen or something. He wouldn't say anything. He'll wait till Friday night for us to talk about, me going to the party tomorrow, whatever. And he'll be like, okay, I just need you to read the contract. So what happened on Wednesday? And you'll be like, well, I forgot, you didn't fulfill the contract. So no, you can't go to this party. And I could not stand my father. Like I thought he was the worst of the worst. Because other people get away with murder. And when I got to college, I realized that people would not hold themselves accountable when it came to like your roommates in college or even just, class projects. Like I literally broke down and cried and called my father and told him how much I appreciate him. Even though I thought like I could not stand him in high school, when I got to college, I had an appreciation for it. So my attitude was really stanky. Like I wouldn't mind helping people, but if it wasn't on my terms, then my attitude would kick in. But I've grown so much over the years, but God was still like, there's some areas of your attitude that you need to work on. And then the whole be humble. When he said that, I said, God, if I need to be humble, that means there's pride. So by me kind of checking in with God, that what helps me. And even when I was in the farming class and I was sitting there, I was like, I kind of already know this stuff because they were talking about the business aspect. And this lady, not knowing in my head, she just so happened to say, it's not what you know, but it's always who you know. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't need to be in this class. Like, I can skip this. And to me, that was so humbling. And that was like a checking moment. Like, Ashley, I don't care if you know this stuff. You don't know from the farming aspect of it. And it was some stuff that I learned, but it was humbling. So besides that scripture, I think checking in with God and asking him to search my heart from time to time, that really like keeps me, I guess, in check.
Facts. Okay, so Yolanda says, "Do you write contracts now?"
Oh yes. Oh no, boo boo. I am so good with contracts and business.
Do you
I
write contracts for your family? Do you write contracts for your husband? Do you do that?
not for my I wouldn't do that. Now, no. I don't think okay, you know what? I would say my sister and brother, we were going to get into like some business. So yes, I wrote up a contract with them, but other than that, I don't think I do business with
Wait. You wrote up contracts with your siblings?
yeah. Oh,
I'm sorry, my sister's 10 years older than me, so there was no such thing. I didn't know. I don't know. I grew up an only child, so I'm so sorry. I don't.
yeah. Yeah. And because I'm not gonna say the funny thing. I mean, we all had the same dad, like but different moms. So from their aspect, they understand because
Got
my father, like, we were all cool. So when it comes to business, we want everything in writing. Even when it comes to maybe the simple stuff, I would literally say in our group chat, I need a confirmation. Is it a yes or no from you? Because if anything go wrong and you be like, well, I don't like it, let's scroll back through these texts. You say yes, you agree to this.
receipts.
So that is me. So yeah, whether it's a text message or you physically signing off on something, I would. Now I wouldn't do that with my husband. I probably would do that with my son when he gets older. Yes, I do. I would.
Okay. All right. So you told me you write contracts, you farm, you're dealing with your own little stuff. Okay. So when you deal with your stuff and all of the things, and then sometimes we fall short, right? So how do you deal with falling forward?
Hmm.
Because
Okay.
we don't fail. You know what I mean? We fall forward because we get back up. So how do you fall forward? And what is it that you do? Well, answer that part first. How do you fall forward?
I'm going to say that's probably something hard for me to say. I'm very hard on myself, and my best friend would know that because I'm a stickler for things. And I don't know if some people like type A personality, whatever it is. I am very boom, boom, boom. Like stuff is written down. especially when it comes to business and things don't go according to plan. I can become very down and used to go in a downward spiral. Now, I think I'm just like, God, if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be, because I've done events where I expected maybe 80 people, maybe only four, half the room showed up, and but it was so impactful. And so I would be I really say like a tyrant. Like my attitude would be so bad because it didn't turn out in my mind how I thought it should be. But yet when I let go of the numbers, or we didn't start on time or whatever, and really just be in the moment, then I realized that even though things don't go as the plan, if I put my best foot forward, then it's okay. So I'm still working on that. And I'm gonna be honest, I think motherhood has given me that, because for me, when you're dealing with a kid that's like, ooh, like all the noise, everything, it's like, you know what? Life is life. If I'm whatever, because I was kind of concerned, like with this, I said, Lord, am I gonna have everything ready in time for this, this meeting, this interview? I don't want to say interview, but this conversation that we're having.
It's a
I just
soul care
learned,
session.
yeah, not to stress out as much. Because life, you just make the best of life. So I'm still learning how to fall for it and not be so hard on myself. But I think the more that I, mature, whether that comes with age, but I think it just life lessons, I'm
Mhm.
learning not to be as hard. And did you do your best? Was it something that you could have or could not control? Move on with life. Did anybody die? Move on with life. You okay?
Thanks. My my bishop used to say, or he does say, Bishop Long used to say, we always say. So it's like looked up. He said, "Ooh, that wasn't English." He says, he used to say, many are called, few are chosen, but the chosen are the ones who show up. So for the
Mm,
fact that you show up every single day, regardless, that's a part of falling forward. That's a thing. It's like I'm going to stand in my what I think
yes.
was not the best thing, but I still did it. It made the framework may not have been all pretty. It wasn't all glitz and glam, but guess what? I did it. And I did it because there's something like for me, like in the back of my mind, something is saying people are watching you, regardless of how inadequate you might feel, regardless of how unprepared you may think you are. But somebody is like, yo, that was sick.
Yes.
And you're like, what?
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh.
You're
Yes.
like, it was? Well, we bless the Lord because that
Praise him.
clearly was all him, because I don't know any other way that would have popped off if I had been operating inside of myself. But much like you say, you said it earlier, it was like you was like you choose impact, and it's like that's the thing, like impact over income will get you everywhere you got to go every single time.
Yes.
So I'll be like,
and
body rolling, let's go. It's
yeah.
like, listen,
And when
all
you
right,
show up, like even after, I had the moment, and like you said, people are watching. I've had, events that didn't go well, or, it didn't yield me the money that I thought, but it would be someone that was like, oh my gosh, I enjoyed it. And then literally I had an event sometime last year, whatever. And the lady there, she was like, you know what? I'm gonna connect you with this lady that's over this nonprofit organization, and I really love this program. I'm gonna talk. You be like, oh, okay, because people say she literally connected me with this lady. And so I have signed my contract to teach like 4 classes with the organization, and the money is good just for those 4 classes. I'm good. Like I'm happy. So it's just showing up regardless. And like I said, just putting your best foot forward afterwards. Like, was there anything you could have done differently? But at least you showed up. Oh, my best friend, she always says you need to execute in excellence. We do everything in excellence.
absolutely.
So I want to say that hearing her voice really helps me, because I was like, Ashley, get out your attitude, because like you said, people are watching, and just make the best of who and what is here, and just execute in excellence.
Yeah, like the thing that keeps me going is the fact that it's like, yo, I want to, people are watching, but I'm really like more concerned about, don't be looking at me sideways, daddy, because I ain't do it. Like, I feel like, it's the angel over here
Mm-hmm.
and the little devil sitting over here. And I'll be like, but he makes stuff so easier. But does he really, though?
He has a deception
Yeah, like
of
it,
where it's giving you, I think, all that you desire and hope. But baby, get off sin. It seems good, tastes good, feel good, but at the end, it don't yield you what you thought. Like you would wear yourself out doing things that you think feel good to your flesh, especially if you know God ain't tell you to be in there in that relationship, in that business, at that job, whatever. Um, yeah, it seems good at first, but then you realize you could have had so much more joy over here. You perhaps hadn't wouldn't have made as much money, but yet you wouldn't be sitting up here about to have a mental breakdown. Yeah, you may be lonely without this relationship, but now you're in something that's perhaps abusive or mental abuse, whatever. So
yeah, you gotta
sometimes,
count the cost.
huh?
You gotta count the cost, like,
Yeah.
because you'll be hemmed up. And I think all of us have some form of testimony, whether they'll choose to admit it or not,
Mm-hmm.
that something is going on. And I'll be like, but yo, when you come to a point where you can be like, I did that. When you can own your stuff
Mm-hmm.
and you can sit in it and not be faded by what you did, but so it'll free somebody else.
I
Yeah,
think
that's a whole nother level.
it is.
Yeah.
Because when it's like, we overcome by the words of our testimony. When you really walk in and own what you've done, it is so much freedom. Like people can't use that as a weapon against you because it's like, I already tell my own story. Like, okay, and like, are you trying to say that to hurt me?
Right, right, right.
My very first book that I wrote, that got to me single, satisfied, and saved. I literally sat on that book for 3 years because I was embarrassed or ashamed of what people would think about of my story. Like I didn't want to do any promotion because I was like, oh my gosh, people are gonna read my story and then they're gonna think, something about me. But I was like, why? And I think what changed was like I got sick and tired of being sick and tired of like, God, I have this book. I want to do more. Okay, well, start speaking about like going out, doing things. And so, of course, go to the church. They have an event, and somehow this lady the first lady came up to me and was like, "Okay, so is this your book? Like you're the author?" And I was like, yeah. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I have a lady at my church that read your book and she loves it." And she went and go found this lady, and she brought her back to my table. And this lady was like, your book helped me in some really dark times, and I just appreciate it. And it was like a conflicting emotion there because I was happy that my book helped people, but then it was like a hurt that I literally sat on this for 3 years. Like, imagine the many more people that I could have helped, the impact that I could have had. And it was like, what, the devil played me for 3 years. Like, it's my story. Why should I be shamed? Like, the stuff you went through, other people have went through it, but it's like you were, vulnerable enough to put it in the book. And the devil just had me in bondage for 3 years thinking people gonna think think less of you because you open up and told your story. So yeah.
Yeah, like the whole reason why, I think I told you that we rebranded and relaunched in the
Mm.
middle of the pandemic,
Oh.
right? And when we did, and I went back and forth about it for this very reason. Like it was like I don't want to share. I don't want to.
Mm.
I don't want to tell the story about why we started for real, right? Because like even though my grandmother is a very big part of the story, right? But I had to walk out some stuff in order to get there, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that my whole fertility or in lack of fertility was traumatizing.
Mm.
So it's just like ooh, and I talk about it ever so often, but I was just like I don't. Now it's like whatever,
Yeah.
and it's like but I also find myself advocating for people. I find myself advocating for women when you hear people say, "Well, 40 years old, why you don't have no kids?" First of all, don't be asking her that.
Yes, yes.
You are out of order. You don't know what her problem is. Or you have mamas who have children. They be like, "Oh, I'll be glad when these kids get grown." Really? Or be glad you don't have kids. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Don't say that.
You
I
don't,
think
even
that's
before
hurtful.
I became pregnant, I had a time frame in which I didn't think I could become pregnant. So
Mhm.
I was just like, God, what's up? What's going on? And so it would be, I guess, when people ask you when you're single, when you're gonna get married, and then when you get married, when you're gonna have kids, and then when you know, it's like it's forever. When are you gonna do something? Why can't I just be like be happy where I'm at? Like, why do you have to? I
For
just want to
sure.
be right now.
For
So
sure. It is. And it's hurtful. And you like, I want to live. And then it got to a point where I was like, you know what? Women need to be reminded that they are more than just somebody's mama, that they're more than somebody's wife,
mhm,
that they're more than somebody's whatever, fill in the blank. And it becomes the thing where we need to find our wholeness.
yes,
And until we're able to locate what that wholeness looks like, you'll forever be searching for a thing, right? And it's like we walk around with these scars or with these issues, right? Or let's call them issues because we can use the woman who touched the hem of Jesus's garment
mhm,
as an example. Like she walked around for years
yeah. There
with
was
an
some,
issue, for years with an issue, all because she didn't know in the time frame that she thought she should have known that she could have gotten healed. But what I do know is that everything happens on time, in season, and for a reason because he ordained it that way. And I was just like, when I finally got it, I got it. When you finally got it, it
mhm.
was the time for you to have, it was the time for you to flourish in that moment. Your blooming was happening when it was supposed to. I mean, even though we tend to be a little salty, be like, I suck, yo. You know what I'm saying? And we can't. And I just want to remind us, like, let's not beat ourselves up because we aren't necessarily where we think we should be when we should be. We are right where we're supposed to be because God set us up for it to be that way. Because if you had never walked through that moment of darkness, that moment of
Mm.
insecurity, that moment of vulnerability, you would have never been able to stand. You would have never been able to stand
I
to.
want to. It's like the waiting process is what I guess hurt a lot of people because you know what? While you waiting, it's like, hey, God, you clearly must have forgot, or you're not hearing my prayers. So let me go out here and make something happen on my own. And when things don't necessarily pan out how you think they should, it could be very hurtful. But then when you realize, or you when God does show up on in his perfect timing, you have an appreciation for it. So
Mhm.
before I was married to my husband, I was engaged, I think about 2 years before him. And I thought it was, perfect. Oh my gosh, we look cute together, you know what I'm saying?
I can watch
Um,
you match.
it was cute. Um, And I think we had adopted a family for Christmas. And so I think the week of Christmas was like, okay, we're gonna meet up with them, drop off the toys, whatever. And called me one night, because work third shift or whatever. He was like, I can't do this no more. It's like, what? Like, you tired? When you got the phone, it's like, no, I don't want to be engaged. Like, what the what? Like, this just came out of nowhere. So we had called off the engagement, and we still had. I'm the type of I'm still gonna honor my commitment. It was a whole family we adopted, so we had to meet up for Christmas.
Sure.
So go to his house, and he was like, you can hop in the car with me, or you can follow me. Of course, I'm like, I'm gonna follow you. So we get, I'm gonna follow you. We get to this house. I don't think it's the family house. I don't know where they stay. And he was like, "Oh no, I just came over here to pick somebody up because they said they need to come." And I was like, "Okay, well, I need to use the restroom." Come, person gets in the car. We get to the family house. Okay, give the toys. God bless everyone. La 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 la. I leave, and his, I'm gonna say, play sister, his sister in love, whatever, go to the same church. She's like, call me. Hey, Ashley, I just want to thank y'all, so much for doing what you're doing. She's like, you're such a strong woman. I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, the lady that was there, that was his girlfriend. So you tell me, a week after you called off our engagement, you went to go pick up your girlfriend so you can take her to this family that we adopted. So pretty much, come to find all out, he had been cheating behind my back, and I guess she sold him some hopes and dreams or whatever happened. Thank God for that mess, because that just would have been a horrible marriage to be in. That was real bold of him at the time, and I think God had delivered me from rage like 2 weeks before, because it would have been a real ugly situation. But I say all that because I was heartbroken, like distraught, like, okay, you called this off the week of Christmas. Everyone's, like, you already sent out like invites and stuff like that. It's like very heartbroken. But when I say I didn't really necessarily know what gaslighting was and everything, but the mental torment that I went through, I figured it was just like, wedding jitters, everything was like my fault. I just thank God that he broke it off, because I mean, I have a very supportive husband. It's like almost day and night as far as the relationships, and I think sometimes we can get to the point where we want something so bad that we ignore the red flags or whatever it is, because it's what we want. It's what the devil presented. It looks good. Oh my gosh, like, I got somebody to lay at night and we look good together, but you really not happy deep down. But it's like, okay, well, maybe this is how it's supposed to be. People don't have perfect marriages, relationships, and stuff like that. But I just thank God, like, after the fact, I can say I thank God now. But in the waiting season, it was very miserable, and perhaps made some bad decisions because I felt like God wasn't listening. He didn't hear me. So I'm gonna make things happen on my own. So just, even though God's timing, it could seem like it takes forever. Just let it work it out, because there's some things that need to be worked out of me before I met my husband. There's some things that need to be worked out of him before he met me. So just that. Share
And
with
then
you.
y'all had some things y'all needed to work out together. My God.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, because there are some things. Ooh, that's a word. So there are some things, when two people are brought together, you be like, oh, we needed to work this out together. Hmm.
And there's some things that you will not experience until you get there. Like, in us being married, my father passed. None of us had lost a parent before, so just experiencing that and seeing, how I handle it and how it's just like a weird, I won't say a weird dynamic, but it's just certain things you won't experience until you get married, and you have to figure out how to work together through it.
Sure, but I can say that my husband brought a dynamic to my life that I had never experienced before, and it challenged me, and I was really pissed off about it for a long time.
Oh,
Like
okay.
that's just keeping it 100. Like I was like, I don't like this. I don't like to share. I grew up by myself. I was okay with being by myself, and now I married a man who had a family that was the size of a military branch,
Mm.
and now you want me to do what? So it's not going to be just me and you. Like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
all of those things. And then, or it wasn't going to be just us four because I'm the second wife and he had children from a previous marriage. And so,
Mm.
but I love the way God molded us and he transformed us because of the fact that, he came from a divorced home. His kids didn't understand, or our kids didn't understand what it was like to have to be shifting between or without a parent
Mm.
100% of the time, or what they possibly would feel like, but I could speak to it, or what it felt like to have a bonus parent, you
Yes.
know, that was present and not present. You know what I'm saying? So I understood. I was like, yo, so it came together so well. Like
Yeah.
and now here we are, 17 years later. He still drive me crazy. Bless his whole heart. I love him to death. But but
Yes.
it's like, listen, he gotta do what he do, and I can't. That's my dude. Like
Yes, I love it.
you
I
know.
love, and I think people, even me, like love isn't just saying yes or whatever. It's learning to work together through those hard things, being open and transparent, um, and being able to be humbled. I guess per se, I guess by God, because I know one thing. God, it comes to a point when I'm in tune with God. God, you need to apologize to your husband and
I know. It'd be
do
hard.
it.
It'd be hard. It'd be hard. Look,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna say it like that for all of y'all who watching, and you be like, "Dang, she can't speak well." Yes, I can. It'd be hard though,
it
and I'm gonna
is.
say it, and I'm gonna say it like that, and it do.
Yes,
It'd be hard,
yes.
and I'm like, I'm glad and I'm thankful for the opportunities to be able to share those stories, and to be able to have this conversation with you because this was kind of dope. Appreciate that conversation. So I'm gonna ask you
Hmm.
to leave us with some um, actionable steps or final moments of like what it is to um, manage your self care to yourself, your self care to your soul care. Like, because they are one and the same. You can't have one without the other. So, what are the actionable steps so people can go on their own personal journey to make that happen for themselves?
All right. So I'm, of Christian faith. I would say one, I need you to sit down, sis, in a quiet area. Even if you have kids, I don't even care if it's in the bathroom, your 5 minutes that you have for yourself or in the shower, whatever it is. And just ask God what it is that I need to work on, or just God, can reveal me to myself, because sometimes we don't know that we need to work on things. Like sometimes we see problems, feel like it's other people, but if it's continuously happen, maybe you are the source of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um so ask God to reveal things that you perhaps need to work on. And I would say, be sit and listen. Like honestly, when after you pray or talk, you just listen. After that, I would say if you need to unwind from social media, television, just spend some time doing something that makes you happy. Some people that may be getting a massage, taking a long bubble bath, playing in the garden, whatever it is that brings you joy. And if you have been so detached from life or whatever that you don't know what brings you joy, I would say just experiment, find some things. Go on Eventbrite, find an event to go out to, or find some kind of club. Like I found the farming thing on Eventbrite. Just find out what makes you happy. Even if that means traveling solo. Because I know a lot of people don't like doing that, but
I
travel
love to
solo.
do that. I love
Yeah.
to do
So I guess my two actionable steps is, talk to God, but listen at the same time. So whether it's talking or praying, but actually spending some time to listen. Is it an audible voice? However you may hear him, that could be it speaking through other people, you having an unction, or you feel like something is pulling you to do this in this direction, or you feel a certain way. Maybe that's the Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit talking to you. And two, take a step back from social media, television, whatever, and find something that brings you joy. And once again, if you're not quite sure what it is that brings you joy, experiment, do some things. So those are my two steps right there.
that stuff. Can I add to your? Can I add to your? Can I add a 1A to your step one?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Write down what you heard.
Yes, yes. That's very important.
Write down what you heard, because now you can revisit it. You can expound upon it. You can ask questions upon those
Yeah.
things, because you want to know. You want to get clarity,
That is true.
because you don't always remember what he said if it's not before you, and you can't expound upon what you don't see. Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, amen to that. Well, actually, I love you. I thank you for being here with us this evening. We did
Appreciate
go a
it.
little over, but I'm glad that we had the time to spend together. And you're going to come back.
Oh, I would love to.
And okay, so I'm going to say this. When is the next Polish Your Crown?
We gonna ask Jesus on that one.
Okay. Lord,
I don't. I'm gonna say motherhood took a backseat. I had a virtual one, but I know I want to have it in person, and so I haven't necessarily heard from God. And I would say one of my things is kind of doing too much, but I want it to be like, all right, God, is this like I want to know for certain because I knew for certain God wanted me to have it that initial year and the 2, 3 years afterwards. But I'm like, okay, is it time? But I will, I'll let you know when God say move.
well, I
You
ain't
know
mad
what I'm
at that.
saying? Waiting on you.
Listen, I ain't mad. Here, look. Hold up, hold up. I'm gonna do you like like the pastor do me. Did he tell you to stop having it?
Mm. Oh, okay. I no, he didn't. No.
Oh, so when the next one? I'm sorry, I did do that live. I'm sorry. I love you. I'm sorry. I love y'all. We are indeed live. I appreciate each and every one of you who are watching. Please share this episode in this session with someone that needs to hear what Ashley has shared with us today. Now, Ashley, before we go, tell the people how they can find you, where they can locate your books, how they can buy from your books, how they can all the things. To share all the things with all the people.
Okay, so website is Ashley M King, ASHLEY, M as in Mary, KING.com. Pretty much every social media platform you're gonna type in the Ashley M King. That's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, all them platform, fan base, all them platforms out there. The Ashley M King, you can find me, and then ashleymking.com is my website.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching. Once again, this episode was sponsored by Lemon Honey Artisan Body Care, where we illuminate the outer you while loving and elevating the inner you. And we look forward to seeing you next week for our final episode with Jamie Bennett. So we look forward to seeing you all next week at 8 o'clock. Talk to you soon. Bye.